Have you ever wondered what really happens to someone who decides to take their own life? This is one of the biggest taboos in our society, a topic that families avoid and rarely discuss as deeply as it deserves. Maybe you've lost someone that way, or perhaps you've even questioned that path during tough times. No matter your story, what I'm about to share could completely change how you see the soul's journey after suicide. Before we move on, if this content touches your heart, please give a like and hit the notification bell. It not only helps me bring this message to more people who need it, but also make sure you get our next videos on the mysteries of existence that so many are afraid to talk about. The first thing you need to understand is that physical death is never the end of consciousness. Our bodies are just temporary vehicles, while our true essence, the part that really is us, keeps on its journey. When someone commits suicide, there isn't any eternal punishment or divine condemnation waiting on the other side. This is perhaps the cruelest of the false beliefs we've inherited. The idea that there's a never-ending punishment for those who, in their deepest pain, couldn't see another way out. The truth, revealed by countless mediumistic accounts, near-death experiences, and ancient spiritual traditions, is that these souls are welcomed with the same unconditional love that awaits every one of us. The only difference is in the initial adjustment process to the spiritual realm, which can be more challenging for someone whose earthly journey came to an abrupt end. Imagine waking up from a troubled dream, still carrying all the intense emotions that led you to that decision. That's how many spirits describe this transition. Contrary to what many fear, there isn't a court judging or condemning. Instead, there's a loving reception by spiritual mentors and guides who deeply understand the pain that led to that decision. Often, family members who have already passed are also present in this initial welcome. Awakening after suicide usually takes place in spaces that resemble spiritual hospitals, places of healing rather than punishment. This awakening process can vary greatly depending on each person's emotional state and spiritual understanding. Some might go through a period of confusion, where their awareness floats between the earthly and the spiritual realms, especially if they were deeply attached to unresolved material or emotional issues. Others might experience a restorative sleep before fully waking up to their new reality. What spiritual communications consistently reveal is that help is always available. No one is left on their own or doomed to wander in eternal suffering. Even if the spirit initially resists help, which is common when guilt and regret are intense, the spiritual mentors remain present, waiting for the moment when the consciousness is ready to accept the assistance offered. It's important to understand that in the spiritual realm, time is experienced differently. What might seem like a long period of suffering to us can actually be just a brief moment of transition for the spirit. Recovery depends much more on a person's inner state than on any idea of chronological time as we know it. The biggest challenge for many who have died by suicide doesn't come from external punishments, but from facing their own emotions and the consequences of their decision. There is a natural process of life review, where the spirit reflects not only on the final act, but on the entire journey, including the various alternatives available at that crucial moment. This review isn't meant to create guilt. It's there to promote understanding and learning. Often, the heaviest burden these spirits carry is the impact their departure has on the ones left behind. Seeing loved ones suffer while not being able to comfort them directly can be one of the most painful experiences for these souls. It's at this point that the unconditional love of spiritual mentors becomes even more essential, helping the consciousness process these emotions without getting lost in the abyss of eternal guilt. This is a fundamental truth that few understand. Guilt can become a spiritual prison more powerful than any external punishment imaginable. Many spirits who have taken their own lives report that they become trapped in self-punishment, initially rejecting the light and love that were always available. In these moments, the patient presence of spiritual mentors and the love sent by those on earth act like beacons, showing the way toward breaking free of this self-imposed suffering. What many don't realize is that our prayers, our thoughts of love, and our acts of forgiveness have a real, tangible impact on those who have passed. When we direct thoughts of understanding and peace towards someone who committed suicide, we're literally sending waves of healing energy that help dissolve the emotional chains trapping that consciousness. That's why cultivating forgiveness and understanding might just be the greatest gift we can offer to someone who left this way. Have you ever stopped to imagine what the welcoming and healing spaces in the spiritual realm are like? Countless accounts describe environments that resemble rehabilitation centers or hospitals, but filled with a compassionate and peaceful energy that surpasses any earthly institution. These aren't places of isolation or exile. They're vibrant communities dedicated to restoring spiritual balance. Here, energy healing specialists work tirelessly with spirits who have experienced suicide, applying what we might call dimensional therapies, treatments that work simultaneously on memory, emotions, and the spiritual body. In these environments, the vibration of unconditional love permeates everything, creating a kind of energy field that gradually dissolves the dense layers of pain the consciousness carries. Often, the initial treatment involves a restorative sleep, where the spirit is wrapped in cocoons of healing energy, allowing even its deepest wounds to begin healing. As the spirit awakens from that stage, it is introduced to group therapies where it meets others who have gone through similar experiences, a crucial moment in realizing that it is not alone on its path to recovery. What makes these spaces truly extraordinary is that they shape themselves around the very needs of the healing consciousness. For some, they might appear as lush gardens by crystal-clear lakes, for others as endless libraries filled with all the knowledge of the universe, or even as meditation temples atop ethereal mountains. The physical appearance of these places matters less than their purpose. They're spaces where time flows differently, allowing each soul to find its own pace of healing without pressure or judgment. Now, imagine earthly life as a semester at a huge cosmic university. Suicide would be like dropping out before earning all the necessary credits. Not an unforgivable sin, but just a temporary interruption in the learning process. Inevitably, the lessons left unlearned will have to be revisited at some future time. This is essentially what many spiritual traditions call the law of cause and effect, or karma. Not a divine punishment, but a natural law of balance that governs the entire universe. During the transition to the spiritual realm, every soul goes through what many call a life review, a sacred moment in which we re-experience every event, not only from our personal perspective, but also by feeling how our actions affected everyone involved. For those who committed suicide, this review includes fully witnessing the pain of those left behind, the learning opportunities that were missed, and the potential alternative paths that were available, even when they seemed invisible during the crisis. This process isn't meant to create more suffering, but to bring about deep understanding and integration of the experience. Spiritual mentors accompany the entire review, offering perspective and emotional support. What many don't realize is that this moment isn't about external judgment. It's an intimate encounter with our own higher consciousness, the part of us that fully understands our greater purpose and the meaning behind every experience we choose to live. The beauty of this life review is that it happens in a field of unconditional love, where there's no condemnation, only an opportunity for growth. Often, spirits say that the most transformative moment of this process is when they finally manage to forgive themselves, realizing that, at that moment of decision, they were doing the best they could with the emotional tools and understanding available to them at that time. Now, I want you to pause for a moment and reflect. If you could look at your own life as a compassionate observer, what patterns would you notice? What lessons keep repeating themselves, maybe in different scenarios, but at the very core remaining the same? And what if the difficulties you face today are exactly the lessons your soul chose to learn in this lifetime? Doesn't that perspective completely change the meaning of your current challenges? Many people who consider suicide are, in fact, trying to escape specific lessons that their souls chose to face. The cosmic irony is that, as countless mediumistic accounts reveal, those same lessons will be waiting in the next opportunity for learning. whether that's in another life or in other dimensions within the spiritual realm. What we often miss is that running away from the challenge only delays growth, whereas facing it, even imperfectly, produces an expansion of consciousness that we carry with us for eternity. The question you should be asking right now isn't, how can I escape this suffering? But rather, what wisdom is this experience trying to teach me? This simple shift in perspective has the power to turn even the darkest moments into opportunities for insight and enlightenment. And remember, no soul in the physical realm is ever faced with challenges beyond its capacity to overcome, even when it feels impossible to tap into that inner strength. Did you know that the connection between the physical and the spiritual worlds is much more fluid than we realize? There are countless accounts of people receiving signs, dreams, or intuitive messages from loved ones who passed away by suicide. These contacts aren't just flights of fancy or coincidences. They are real, energetic bridges between dimensions. When a spirit begins to recover from the trauma of suicide and learns to work with the subtle energies of its new realm, its first desire is often to reach out to those it left behind, especially to send a message of love and to let you know that it's okay. These communications can happen in many ways. Through vivid dreams that leave you with a different feeling when you wake up, through meaningful coincidences that seem too unlikely to be chance, through the presence of certain animals at specific moments, through songs that play for no obvious reason, through objects that move or appear in unexpected places, or even through that unmistakable sense of a loving presence by your side. Many people say they notice a distinctive scent of a loved one when they're alone or feel a sudden wave of warmth and well-being during a moment of deep sadness. These are all ways that spirits find to say, "I'm here, I'm okay, and I still love you." It's important to understand that these forms of communication happen more easily when our energy field is open and receptive. States of deep meditation, those moments between sleep and waking, or times when we are emotionally open without strict expectations, create the ideal conditions for interdimensional contact. When we keep our hearts open and our minds free of fear, we create a natural channel for these messages of love to cross the veil between worlds. Doctors, scientists, and respected researchers around the world have documented extraordinary cases of communication after death. Dr. Raymond Moody, a pioneer in the study of near-death experiences, cataloged thousands of consistent accounts. Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, after decades of working with terminal patients, stated categorically that consciousness continues after physical death. Dr. Ian Stevenson meticulously documented over 3,000 suggestive cases of reincarnation at the University of Virginia. These are not gullible or superstitious people. They are respected scientists who followed the evidence wherever it led. One of the most impressive cases documented by researchers involves a young woman who took her own life after battling deep depression. 3 months after her passing, her mother, who had never shown any mediumistic abilities, began receiving automatic written messages during sleep. These communications contained details that only her daughter could have known, including the location of a hidden diary with her final thoughts. Even more impressive was that the handwriting in these messages was identical to her daughter's, something that handwriting experts confirmed was nearly impossible to fake, especially while asleep. This is just one of thousands of documented cases that challenge our materialistic understanding of reality. What they show us is that death, even by suicide, isn't the end of communication. It's simply a transformation in the way communication occurs. The bonds of true love transcend physical barriers and continue to nurture both those who have passed and those who remain. This insight can bring immense comfort to anyone carrying the weight of losing someone who chose to leave. Have you ever experienced that sudden, inexplicable intuition that turned out to be right? Or had a dream so vivid about someone who passed that when you woke up it felt like you had truly been with that person? Our society has trained us to dismiss these experiences as mere fantasies or coincidences, but what if they're much more? What if there are genuine moments of connection between worlds as real as the chair you're sitting in right now? Allow yourself to be open to that possibility, even if it's just an experiment for yourself. The next time you feel an inexplicable presence, receive a sign that seems significant, or dream about someone who has passed, instead of rationalizing or dismissing the experience, just embrace it. Say out loud, "I feel you, I acknowledge your presence, and I am open to this communication." You might be surprised by what happens when you lower your barriers of skepticism and let interdimensional communication flow naturally. Now, imagine for a moment that you could talk to your future self, an evolved version of you who has already overcome the challenges you face today. What would that wise version say about the moment you're in now? What advice might it offer? What broader perspective could it share? This isn't just a helpful visualization. It's an exercise that connects you with your own inner wisdom, that part of you which exists beyond the limits of linear time. It's this same wisdom that guides us when we ponder the mysteries of life and death. When someone we love commits suicide, we often get caught up in unanswered questions. Why didn't I see the signs? What could I have done differently? How did I miss it? These questions, although natural, can trap us emotionally, keeping us from moving forward on our healing journey. The deepest truth we must accept is that each soul has its own unique path, its own choices, and its own time for learning. Even when these choices seem incomprehensible or painful, they are part of a cosmic tapestry far more complex than our human minds can grasp. This isn't to say that we should be passive in the face of someone else's suffering, but rather that even as we do our utmost to help, we need to respect each individual's free will and unique journey. For those who have lost someone to suicide, perhaps the greatest gift you can offer is to free that person from judgment by understanding that their decision was made in a moment of such intense pain that it blocked out all other possibilities. This act of forgiveness and understanding sends out a wave of healing energy that crosses dimensions, reaching the spirit wherever it is on its path of recovery and learning. And now we come to the most important part of our conversation, the understanding that no one is truly alone on this cosmic journey. Not you watching this video, possibly facing your own moments of darkness. Not that person you loved who chose to leave too soon, and not even those spirits who temporarily lost themselves in the shadows of guilt after suicide. We are all connected in an infinite network of consciousness and love that goes beyond the barriers of physical death. Spiritual cosmology teaches us that there are entire communities in the spiritual realm dedicated to helping both those who died by suicide and those who remain. Groups of specialized spirits work tirelessly to inspire researchers, therapists, and communicators on Earth to develop new approaches for preventing suicide and supporting those who suffer. Others focus on creating fields of healing energy around grieving families, helping them process the pain and guilt that often come with such losses. It's important for you to know that your efforts to understand these spiritual realities are not in vain. Every time you expand your awareness about these topics, every time you share a word of hope with someone in pain, and every time you set aside judgment to embrace another's suffering with compassion, you are actively contributing to this cosmic network of healing and evolution. When we open ourselves to a broader understanding of life, death, and rebirth, we begin to see that nothing, absolutely nothing, is wasted in the spiritual economy of the universe. Every tear, every moment of despair, every decision, even the most tragic ones, is eventually transformed into wisdom, compassion, and growth. There is no soul lost forever, no irreversible mistake, and no suffering without a greater purpose when viewed from the perspective of eternity. If you're struggling with suicidal thoughts right now, I want you to know that your pain is real and valid, but it isn't your entire story. You are infinitely more than this difficult chapter you're living. There is a purpose for your being here, even if it seems impossible to see at the moment. Please give yourself the gift of seeking help. Call a crisis hotline, talk to a professional, and allow others to support you. This vulnerability isn't a weakness. It's an act of deep courage. If you have lost someone to suicide, know that they are on a path of healing and learning, even if their departure was surrounded by pain. The invisible chains of love that connect you remain intact. Allow yourself to feel that love, to speak with that person, and to send them thoughts of peace and liberation. These aren't just symbolic gestures. They are real, energetic bridges between dimensions. Before I finish, I'd like to leave you with a practical exercise. Tonight, before you sleep, create a sacred moment of connection. Light a candle, if it's safe to do so. Take a few deep breaths to calm your mind, and then visualize yourself wrapping the person who passed in a warm golden light. Don't ask for anything. Don't demand answers. Just radiate unconditional love and say in your mind, I release you from all guilt. I release you from all suffering. Go on your way in peace and light. Repeat this ritual for 21 consecutive days and notice the subtle changes that occur in both you and the energy around you. If this content has given you a new perspective, please share it with someone who might need this message. Leave a comment sharing your own experience or thoughts. Your story might be exactly the light someone is looking for right now. Subscribe to the channel to continue this journey of exploring the mysteries of existence, and hit the notification bell to be alerted when our next video is out. The greatest truth we can understand about the spiritual journey is that it never ends. It's an eternal unfolding of consciousness and love. Even the darkest moments are just brief pauses in this infinite expansion. Suicide is not the end of anyone's story. It is merely a comma in a cosmic text that continues to unfold in dimensions our human eyes have yet to fully see. Thank you for opening your heart and mind to these reflections. May the light of understanding illuminate your path. May unconditional love heal your wounds, and may the wisdom of the highest realms guide every step you take on this extraordinary journey we call life. An adventure that, as we now know, infinitely transcends the limits of the physical body and the clock on the wall. Subscribe to the channel and give a like to access more stories like this. Until we meet again, remember, you are an eternal being on a temporary journey. The greatest honor we can pay to those who left too soon is to live our own lives with presence, purpose, and compassion, not just for ourselves, but for the entire network of consciousness of which we are a part. See you soon, and may peace be with you, today and always.